Admiral Prisha Raghavan stood at the window of the International Space Defense Command, her dark eyes fixed on the starlit sky above Mumbai. The massive displays behind her painted the command center in an eerie blue glow, tracking what everyone now called the swarm, a cluster of objects moving with undeniable purpose toward Earth. "They're altering course again, Admiral," Lieutenant Yuki Tanaka reported, her fingers dancing across the holographic interface. "The objects are maintaining perfect formation despite the course correction. This is definitely not natural debris." The Admiral nodded, her silver-streaked hair catching the light of the displays. 6 months ago, their deep space monitoring stations had detected the approaching cluster. 3 months ago, they'd confirmed it was changing direction in ways that defied natural physics. 1 month ago, they'd received the first transmissions from an alien civilization, not from the approaching objects, but from somewhere much further away. The message had been simple: run. But humanity had other plans. "Dr. Okonjo, what's the latest from your team?" Prisha turned to face the Nigerian biochemist who had barely left his lab in the past week. Dr. Babajide Okonjo looked up from his tablet, dark circles under his eyes betraying his exhaustion. "It's fascinating, Admiral. The spectral analysis of the objects shows traces of chitin, massive amounts of it. Whatever these things are, they're basically giant arthropods. Space crabs." Lieutenant Tanaka couldn't help but interject. "More complex than that," Babajide continued, his excitement momentarily overtaking his fatigue. "But yes, essentially. And here's the thing: their biological makeup suggests they share fundamental biochemical pathways with Earth's arthropods. They use copper-based blood, similar to our terrestrial horseshoe crabs." Prisha's eyes narrowed. "And this helps us how?" Because Babajide smiled for the first time in days. "It means they're likely vulnerable to the same things that affect our local creatures. We've been studying the wrong things. Instead of looking at traditional weapons, we should be looking at what makes Earth's arthropods tick, or rather, what makes them stop ticking." The Admiral's communicator chimed. "Admiral, Director Hassan from the World Food Science Institute is requesting immediate clearance. Says it's about Dr. Okonjo's findings." Prisha raised an eyebrow, but granted the clearance. Moments later, Director Fatima Hassan's hologram appeared in the center of the command center, her hijab slightly askew as if she'd rushed to make the call. "Admiral, Dr. Okonjo, we need to talk about thermal protein denaturation." Babajide's eyes widened. Of course, their proteins would be sensitive too. "Heat," Fatima finished. "But not just any heat. Specific temperatures, specific conditions. We've been studying this for centuries, perfecting it in every culture on Earth. We just never thought we'd use it against space invaders." Lieutenant Tanaka looked between the scientists, confused. "Are you suggesting what I think you're suggesting?" Prisha leaned forward, a smile slowly spreading across her face. "They're suggesting we cook them." The next few weeks saw the largest coordinated scientific effort in human history, but not in the way anyone had expected. The world's leading food scientists worked alongside military engineers. Traditional fishermen consulted with spacecraft designers. Restaurants became laboratories. The swarm was now close enough to see with powerful telescopes, massive crystalline ships that seemed to be grown rather than built, housing millions of chitinous creatures of varying sizes.
"The smaller ones will be the problem," Babajide explained during a Global Defense Council meeting. "They'll try to overwhelm us with numbers. But thanks to our research with Earth's crustaceans, we know exactly what temperature their proteins will break down at." "And the delivery system?" General Chen asked, representing China's considerable industrial might. Director Hassan pulled up a series of schematics. We're calling it the Global Thermal Defense Grid. Essentially, we're turning Earth's atmosphere into the world's largest pressure cooker. The energy requirements are massive, but with the whole world's power grid working together, we can survive an alien invasion. Prisha finished, earning surprised looks from her typically serious colleagues. What? I watch cooking shows. As the swarm entered the solar system, humanity prepared their defenses. Traditional military installations were retrofitted with massive heating elements. Oceanographic institutes repurposed their underwater thermal vent research. Meteorological centers readied themselves to create precisely controlled atmospheric conditions. The first alien ship entered Earth's orbit exactly 2 months, 3 weeks, and 4 days after their initial detection. The world held its breath, waiting to see if their unprecedented defense strategy would work, or if they'd just created the most elaborate cooking lesson in history. Either way, humanity was about to make first contact. And for once, Earth was bringing the heat. The sight of construction crews retrofitting thermal conductors onto skyscrapers had become commonplace in every major city. Project Hot Plate, as the media had dubbed it, was transforming Earth's infrastructure at an unprecedented pace. Status report. Admiral Ryheaven commanded, standing in the newly established Culinary Defense Command, CDC, beneath the Himalayas. The facility, originally planned as a doomsday bunker, now housed the world's most unusual military operation. The atmospheric heating grid is at 82% completion. Lieutenant Tanaka reported, gesturing to a global hologram where thousands of red dots indicated active thermal nodes. The oceanic temperature control systems are fully operational, thanks to the combined efforts of the Pacific Rim nations. Director Hassan approached with a tablet displaying real-time simulations. The latest tests in the Sahara proving grounds exceeded expectations. We managed to create a controlled convection zone, reaching optimal protein denaturation temperatures across a 10-kilometer radius. And civilian evacuation? Prisha asked, thinking of the billions who would need protection from their own defensive system. The underground climate shelters are ready. A new voice answered. Colonel Nikolai Petrov, head of Global Evacuation Logistics, joined them at the command table. We've converted every subway system, mine shaft, and natural cave network into temperature-controlled safe zones. Capacity for 89% of the world's population. Babajide rushed in, nearly dropping his stack of data pads. Admiral, we finished analyzing the detailed scans of the approaching ships. It's better than we hoped. Their outer shell is primarily calcium carbonate-based. In normal terms, Doctor, Prisha prompted. It's essentially the same material as crab shells, he grinned, and we know exactly how those react to heat. The next few days saw final preparations accelerate. In orbit, the International Space Station had been converted into an early warning system, its sensors calibrated to detect the specific biochemical signatures of the approaching swarm. Traditional military forces hadn't been idle either. While the thermal defense grid was their primary strategy, humanity wasn't putting all their eggs in one basket, or as Director Hassan had put it, not all their crabs in one pot. Submarines positioned themselves near underwater thermal vents, ready to channel superheated water. Air forces prepared special aircraft equipped with heat delivery systems that the engineering teams had dubbed marinade missiles. Ground forces set up perimeters around major population centers, their vehicles retrofitted with thermal weapons that looked suspiciously like giant kitchen appliances. Message from the Indian Ocean Command, Lieutenant Tanaka announced. They've successfully tested the concentrated steam delivery system. They're calling it the pressure cooker protocol. Prisha allowed herself a small smile. At least people were maintaining their sense of humor. The mood grew tenser as the swarm entered Mars orbit. The alien ships, now clearly visible through standard telescopes, had begun breaking formation. Thousands of crystalline vessels, each carrying what they estimated to be millions of the Chidnus invaders, spread out in a pattern that astronomical computers identified as a standard invasion deployment. They think we're defenseless, Dr. Okonjo observed, watching the tactical display. Every simulation shows they're preparing for a standard planetary harvesting operation. They have no idea we've turned our whole planet into a giant Sulfide. Director Hassan's team had been working around the clock, fine-tuning the atmospheric temperature controls. The key, she explained during the final briefing, is precise temperature control. Too low, and it won't affect them. Too high, and we risk damaging our own infrastructure. We need to maintain exactly 143.2 degrees Celsius in the target zones. Like cooking the perfect lobster, Colonel Petrov mused, earning surprised looks. What? I was a chef before joining the military. The final piece of the defense grid clicked into place 3 days before the swarm's projected arrival. The world held its breath as civilian populations moved into the temperature-controlled shelters. Streets emptied. Cities fell quiet. Humanity retreated underground, leaving their surface structures ready for what would either be their greatest triumph or their last stand. In the CDC, Admiral Rayhaven watched the countdown timer. The first wave of alien ships would enter Earth's atmosphere in less than 24 hours. Humanity's preparations were complete. They had transformed their entire planet into a weapon unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Send the final authorization codes, she ordered. All systems to standby. Initiate Protocol Buttersauce. Around the world, massive power plants hummed to life. Thermal conductors began their warm-up sequence. In orbit, satellites adjusted their positions to help control atmospheric conditions. Every ocean current, every wind pattern had been calculated into their plan. As the first alien ship breached the outer atmosphere, Lieutenant Tanaka's console lit up with readings. Admiral, we're detecting their biological signatures. They're exactly what we predicted. Their thermal tolerance is perfect for our strategy. Prisha straightened her uniform and took a deep breath. In a few hours, they would know if humanity's unorthodox approach to planetary defense would work. If combining their scientific knowledge with thousands of years of cooking expertise would save their world. Well, she said, watching the alien ships descend through the upper atmosphere, dinner is served. The first alien ship crashed through the clouds above Mumbai, its crystalline shell gleaming in the morning sun. No one was there to witness its arrival. The streets were empty, the buildings silent. Only the soft hum of thermal conductors broke the eerie quiet. Primary target has entered the optimal zone, Lieutenant Tanaka reported. Atmospheric temperature in target zone is stable at 142.9 degrees Celsius. Admiral Raghavan nodded. Initiate Protocol Buttersauce. Across Mumbai, thousands of thermal conductors activated simultaneously. The air itself seemed to shimmer as precisely controlled heat waves rippled through the atmosphere. The alien ship's crystalline shell began to change color, shifting from translucent to an alarming shade of red. Shell integrity compromising, Dr. Okonjo announced, his eyes fixed on the biochemical readings. Internal temperature rising. They're trying to compensate with their biological cooling systems. But a sharp crack echoed through the empty city as the ship's shell split open. Millions of chitinous creatures poured out, their segmented bodies gleaming in the superheated air. For a moment, it seemed like Earth's defenses had failed, until the creatures began to move more slowly, their movements becoming sluggish. It's working, Director Hassan exclaimed. Their proteins are denaturing exactly as predicted. Around the world, similar scenes played out as more ships entered the atmosphere. Humanity's thermal defense grid transformed entire cities into precisely controlled cooking zones. The invaders evolved to survive the cold of space and the harsh conditions of conquered worlds, found themselves completely unprepared for Earth's heated welcome. 3 weeks after the initial invasion attempt, the CDC received its first official contact from the galactic community. The holographic message came from a species calling themselves the Arbiters, longtime observers of the swarm's destructive path across the galaxy. Never, the translator rendered their clicking speech, in 10,000 cycles have we witnessed a successful defense against the swarm. Your method is unusual. Admiral Raghaven stood proudly before the alien transmission. We simply apply our understanding of biochemistry and our experience with similar life forms on our world. By cooking them, the arbiter clarified, their tone suggesting both disbelief and admiration. We prefer to call it thermal protein management, Dr. Okonjo interjected diplomatically. The news of Earth's success spread rapidly through the galaxy. Soon, delegations from various civilizations arrived to study humanity's defense systems. Earth's combination of scientific knowledge and culinary expertise became highly sought after. They want us to help design similar defense systems for other worlds, Lieutenant Tanaka reported, reading through the growing list of diplomatic requests. And Colonel Petrov added with a grin, they're particularly interested in our recipes. 5 years after the failed swarm invasion, Earth had become a central hub of galactic diplomacy and defense innovation. The Culinary Defense Academy, built on the grounds of the original CDC, now hosted students from hundreds of worlds. Admiral Raghaven, now serving as Earth's representative to the Galactic Council, stood before a class of alien delegates. Behind her, screens displayed molecular diagrams alongside traditional cooking techniques. The key to planetary defense, she explained, isn't just about weapons or technology. It's about understanding your opponent at the most fundamental level, right down to their proteins. Director Hassan, leading the Academy's research division, had developed new defensive techniques combining Earth's culinary traditions with advanced alien technology. The resulting systems were being implemented across the galaxy, creating a network of protected worlds. Dr. Okonjo's team had expanded their research to study various alien species biochemistry, developing customized recipes for defensive measures against different types of threats. Their work had earned them the informal title of the galaxy's head chefs. In orbit above Earth, the new Galactic Culinary Defense Station served as both a monitoring facility and a symbol of humanity's unique contribution to cosmic civilization. Its laboratories contained both scientific equipment and kitchen appliances, a combination that still amused visiting aliens. Another swarm cluster detected in Sector 7. Lieutenant Tanaka, now Commander Tanaka, reported during a routine briefing. Composition, Prisha asked, though she already knew the answer. Standard arthropodic biology. They haven't adapted. Well then, Admiral Raghaven smiled, send them our menu. Let them know Earth is still taking reservations. As she looked out at the stars through the station's observation deck, Prisha reflected on humanity's journey. They had faced extinction and responded with creativity, turning their oldest skills into their strongest defense. In doing so, they hadn't just saved themselves, they had changed the very nature of galactic warfare. Now, across the cosmos, planetary defense systems bore proudly displayed warnings in multiple languages. Caution. Contents may be hot. Humanity, it seemed, had found its place among the stars, not just as warriors or scientists, but as the galaxy's most unexpected protectors. They had proven that sometimes, the best defense wasn't just about fighting back. Sometimes, it was about knowing exactly how to serve your enemies. And Earth's kitchen was always open.